In the previous episode, I gave a simple explanation of the container ship Dali's electrical distribution system. A lot of you have noted that the high voltage bus and the low voltage bus can be split into two by switching their respective bus tie breakers into open position. This way, in case one transformer fails, as it seems to have been the case with the Dali, a blackout won't occur and the main engine can be kept running since the other transformer will still be able to provide electricity to the 440 volt bus where every critical machinery related to the ship's propulsion is connected. That is actually a great idea. But why is this not standard practice for cargo ships when entering or leaving harbor? First up, let's clarify some things about container ships and their differences in electrical requirements compared to other cargo ships. Other types of cargo ships like tankers and bulk carriers don't generate high voltage electricity. They typically generate three-phase 60 Hz 440 volt supply, which is used to operate the various machinery on board. This means there's no high voltage bus. The generators produce only 440 volts and directly connect to the 440 volt bus. On the other hand, ships that require a huge amount of electrical power have a high voltage system. This is typical for container ships, and in the case of Dali, which has 1,400 slots for reefer or refrigerated containers, it requires around 8,000 kilowatts of additional power in case all of those slots are used. These ships use high voltage installations because of the advantages of having a lower current, resulting in reduction of the size of the generators, motors, and cables, saving of space and weight, and lower power losses, among other things. Now, in both cases, there are bus ties on the bus bars. These are designed to be in closed position during normal operation. They are only switched to open position in case there is a need to isolate one side for maintenance purposes. In ships having a similar setup with the Dali, having the bus ties open will mean using two generators, one connected to each side of the high voltage bus, and both of the transformers TR1 and TR2 can be used at the same time, providing 440 volt electricity to their respective switchboards independently of each other. Which led to the question that was raised in the comment section by a lot of viewers. Isn't it safer to keep the bus tie open and use two transformers while the ship is maneuvering into or out of port? This way, in case one transformer fails, a blackout won't occur. Well, the quick answer is yes, it will definitely be safer if that will be done. However, a lot of cargo ships are not designed to easily do that. On some ships, bus ties are not even breakers that you can simply flip to open or close. On some ships, bus ties are a set of plates that are bolted on to link both sides of the bus bar. The only way to disconnect them is to intentionally shut down the generators and black out the ship, after which you have to loosen the bolts and remove the plates. To be honest, in all of my years of working on board a ship, I have never seen this being done except in dry dock when some additional components were installed or modifications were made on the switchboard. But I guess the simplest answer would be because regular cargo ships are not required by any regulation to do that. Hence, the design of having bus tie plates instead of breakers installed on many ships. Take note, I mentioned regular cargo ships. The IMO Maritime Safety Committee has issued Circular 645, which has a chapter that touches on the subject of bus tie breakers for dynamic positioning vessels. These are special types of offshore vessels that can hold their position by means of thrusters and dynamic positioning equipment. They are used for specialized and highly sensitive tasks wherein holding their exact position at all times is very critical, and a loss of power during those operations could have potentially catastrophic consequences. I'm not going to discuss the entire content of the circular, but the relevant part in this discussion is it specifically mentions functional requirements for the electrical power system for each class of dynamic positioning equipment, with Class 3 requiring the power system to be divisible into two or more systems, wherein if one fails, at least one would remain in operation, and that bus tie breakers should be open during operation of Class 3 equipment. This means there is already a provision for using a split bus, although it is specifically targeted for dynamic positioning vessels only. Generally, ships are governed by a lot of rules and regulations, and for the most part, the ship's captain and crew, the managers, and the owners follow those rules. It's all about compliance. Besides, the classification societies determine the status of the equipment installed on board, and they are the ones who can say which is good enough or not. As per regulations, it is the IMO and the flag states that will set the rules or even recommendations. The ship owners, and in effect their ships, will have no choice but to comply. Unfortunately, throughout history, the maritime industry has been somewhat reactive when it comes to creating some important regulations. The Titanic led to the creation of the SOLAS Convention, the oil spill by the Torrey Canyon led to the MARPOL Convention, the incidents involving the Herald of Free Enterprise and the Scandinavian Star resulted in the formation of the ISM Code. The list goes on. I'm not going to be surprised if a new regulation will be made in the future, at least in the United States, which will eventually require all ships to have open tiebreakers while within US waters. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but again, I'm not going to be surprised if it does. In any case, once the final investigation result comes out, we'll definitely know more about what exactly happened, and we can expect a lot of changes in procedures, maybe even in equipment on board cargo ships. That's the way it always has been, and that's the way it's going to be, at least in the foreseeable future. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I would really appreciate it if you hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. If you have any other maritime-related questions, feel free to ask them in the comments section. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.
If this is what love is, then it's worth the while. Can't get enough of this. Thought of you as I like where I am. I'll stay